more proud of what we're going to bring to the PC market. 2017 is going to be an incredible year. Thank you very much for your incredible support. And I will say one more thing to all of you reviewers. We welcome you to review to your heart's content. Have incredible fun playing with Ryzen. Thank you.
Excellent, Lisa. Thank you so much. So, as Lisa just shared with you all, pre-orders for Ryzen 7, 1700, 1700X, 1800X begin tomorrow morning. And, as Lisa talked about wanting to create far more value for the gamer, for the content creator, we also wanted to create more value for the reviewers, the industry analysts, the streamers who are here in the room. So we have several different storylines that we're working with you and embargo times. So Lisa's presentation that you just saw is under embargo until 9 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow morning, February 22nd. We've tried to think through how your evening will go and not overpack it. Have this Ryzen Rev Up where you can get hands-on. If you want to get hands-on with the hardware, you can do that. You can spend a little time. We'll provide you Lisa's content. Writing up what you just heard from her as these pre-orders go live, and you can tell the story you just heard from Lisa of those 3 new Ryzen 7 processors. Pivoting to our next several presenters, we now move to an embargo date that again is 9 a.m. Eastern, but for March 2nd, when Lisa talked about those products going on shelf worldwide. So Jim Anderson, Raja Kaduri, and Mark Papermaster's content, sequentially, your next 3 presentations will all be under embargo until March 2nd, day of launch. Much deeper dive looks at the product and the experiences that it delivers. Does that sound good? If you have any questions or if any of that is ambiguous, please find me. Please find a member of our excellent PR team or events team, and we'll get you connected, and we'll make sure all of that is crystal clear. Okay. So I'd next like to introduce a gentleman who I first met at Computex 2015, and he has been driving incredible focus and energy into the computing and graphics business at AMD, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You guys know me, you know I'm a sincere guy. Yes, he is my boss, but I do mean that from the bottom of my heart. So to go a little deeper on Ryzen, please welcome AMD Senior Vice President and General Manager of the Computing and Graphics Business, Mr. Jim Anderson.
Nicest thing he's ever said about me. Hey, thanks for being here today. We really appreciate it, especially those of you that have traveled long distance. This is going to be a really fun day. I think Lisa said it really well when she said the desktop PC platform is the platform where hundreds of millions of us get to experience high-performance computing on a regular basis, on a daily basis. And so for us, Ryzen is more than just another processor launch or a big processor launch 4 years in the making. For us, it really represents bringing back real innovation and competition to the high-performance PC market. So when you get your hands on your Ryzen system, and I promise it's not much longer, you'll get your own Ryzen soon. But when you get your hands on that system, you'll see firsthand what increased R&D from AMD and high-performance computing cores can do. And that's going to trigger definitely more competition in the marketplace, and that's going to trigger more innovation, and that's going to be good for everybody. It's going to be good for the industry. It's going to be fantastic for the end users. And, with Ryzen, we also think we're going to inject a little excitement back into the industry. In fact, just the amount of anticipation and rumors to this point, I think we've already injected some extra excitement into the industry. But, if you take a look at the market over the last 2-3 years, I think this is a market that's really been starved for innovation and really kind of stagnating. And, in the technology industry, one of the worst afflictions that you can have is incrementalism. And I think that's what the market's been suffering from. And that incrementalism has really been driven by our competition. And it certainly benefited them. It certainly benefited them financially. But it certainly hasn't benefited the industry, the end user. And so with Ryzen, we want to turn all of that over on its head. We want to completely change that, completely disrupt that, and inject real competition back into the industry. You know, I started my career as a processor architect, so I love looking at the data, the benchmarks, and you'll see throughout today, well, you'll see a lot of different data and benchmarks from us. You'll see a lot of bar charts, but I thought we'd start out a little bit with some data from our competition. So this is showing the multi-thread performance of our competition in the desktop space over the last 2 to 3 generations. So over the last couple generations, performance has increased about 10%. I mean, to me, that's the definition of incrementalism. And then at that same time period, over the last couple of years, ASPs from our competition in this space have gone up over a 2-year period by about 8%. So at the same time they're delivering a steady stream of incrementalism, ASPs are going up at the same time. You know, with Ryzen, we're going to completely change that. We're going to completely disrupt this. We're going to inject real innovation back into the market, real competition, and this is going to drive excitement, and this is going to be a better industry for everybody and better for the end user. So step 1 on that Ryzen journey is Ryzen 7. So Lisa just introduced Ryzen 7, highest performance 8-core processor on the market next week when it launches. But we're not going to stop there. Ryzen 7 is just step 1. Throughout this year, we're going to bring out a whole portfolio of Ryzen processors. Ryzen 5, Ryzen 3. So Ryzen 5 is going to bring that same disruptive Ryzen 7 performance, but it's going to bring it to a different part of the market and be a great product for gamers and creators. And then a little later in the year, we'll bring out Ryzen 3, which will bring a whole new level of performance to the mainstream PC market. So throughout this year, we're going to bring just an incredible portfolio of disruptive performance to the market to really reinvigorate this market. So let's take a closer look at the portfolio. Let's start with Ryzen 7. And I want to pick up the story kind of where Lisa left off. So she started the story of Ryzen 7, but I want to give you a broader view and a deeper view of the performance of the Ryzen 7 portfolio. So she introduced the 3 different Ryzen 7 parts that we have. But I want to dive a little bit deeper, not just show you benchmarks, but also show you real end user experiences. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's start with the 1800X, our flagship. So this is 1800X compared against the 6900K. So both processors have 8 cores, so they're equivalent in terms of core count. And Lisa showed you earlier Cinebench NT performance, so 9% better Cinebench NT for the 1800X. But if you look across the board at multiple different benchmarks, 1800X is fantastic performance. So we see 10% better performance on Handbrake, good performance on PC Mark, and multiple other benchmarks. So 1800X competing very, very well across multiple different benchmarks. And when you factor in that price, that's incredibly disruptive performance per dollar that we're bringing to the market. So let's take a look at 1700, kind of at the other end of the spectrum on our stack. So 1700 at $329 price. And what we're comparing here is against the 7700K. So both of these parts are at roughly the same price. So we're doing kind of an equal price comparison here. Now the 1700 has the advantage of more cores, so twice as many cores, 8 cores. And the 7700K has the advantage of a little higher frequency. But you can see the 1700 delivering just amazing performance and value to the market, right? 46% better performance on Cinebench NT, 35% better on Handbrake, 13% better on PC Mark Creative. A little bit lower performance on Spec View. This is a benchmark that's a little bit more sensitive to the frequency of the product. But kind of across the board, we see really fantastic performance of this part delivered to the customer. But you know, benchmarks are just one part of the story. At the end of the day, what really is important is the end user experience. And so what I want to walk you through today is a few different examples of what you'll see in terms of end user experience. And we'll talk about PC gamers, we'll talk about creators, and also enthusiasts and overclockers. Okay, so let's start with PC gamers. We're going to start with AAA gaming. So AAA gamers are always playing the latest titles, competing online against each other. And to get the real experience of AAA gaming, I want to ask Kevin Wensley to come out on the stage.
Jim?
All right, thank Kevin. All good. So Kevin's going to help us with a demo. I want you to see the real AAA gaming experience.
Yep.
Kevin, what do you got in store for us?
All right, let's do this. So what we're going to show you, Lisa showed you a little earlier Sniper Elite 4 with dual Radeon cards, and we talked about that smooth gameplay. I'm just going to show you another example here. Here we're looking at Battlefield 1. Once again, we're showing 4K gaming. Once again, you have the AMD system on the right, the 1800X, the Intel system on the left, 6900K. And this time we outfitted a little bit different on the graphics side. Really the idea, as Lisa said, is we want to make sure this CPU can feed the biggest, baddest graphics engine. So in this case, we have dual Titan X's in SLI mode. So really saying, hey, on the outskirts of the highest end graphics configuration, do we still feed the beast, as they say, and get great performance? So you can see the frame counts up in the right-hand corner. You can see maybe we're a little higher there, but really the important thing is very smooth gameplay, very low latency, great experience, very, very high 99th percentile frames. So you're not going to have that experience of some frames dropping or lagging. So really pushing the boundaries of what you can do with games today. Really great experience on AMD's processor, and again, half the price.
That's beautiful. All right, nice. Okay, but what about esports gamers, right? So esports, big segment of gaming, growing very quickly. For the esports gamer, they want to be able to not just play the game, but also a lot of times stream the experience real time. Stream it to their friends, their family, their fan base. Do you have an example on esports?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a growing use case, really a phenomenally growing use case, and a very interesting high-impact workload for PCs. What you're looking at this time, the setup's a little different. This time you have still AMD on the right, Intel on the left, but now you've got our Ryzen 7 1700 against the 7700K, so the 4-core 8-thread Kaby Lake system. And what you see here is the stream from the gameplay from both systems. So on the same system, we're playing Dota 2 here, and we are streaming Dota 2, and you're looking at the feed. So what you notice in the feed is super smooth, not dropping any frames on the AMD side. Look, if you watch the Intel side, you see some choppiness, you see some drop frames. So a lot of people actually who do this workload, they'll set up two systems because they don't want to take any chances of dropping frames. So they'll do one PC for the game and another PC for the stream. It's a great use case for those extra threads. One system, those extra threads go to use and deliver you a much smoother experience. Let's look at actually in a graphical format how that looks. So really, at the end of the day, if you measure what you saw visually on the previous stream, is that AMD's delivering 100% of the frames, no drops. Intel's delivering only 82%, so significant frame loss. Really cool experience on AMD.
Very nice. All right, that's beautiful. So for gamers, Ryzen,
Check.
right? Okay.
All right.
Great. All right. So let's take a look at content creators, prosumers. So content creators are people doing 3D modeling, maybe video editing, maybe creating VR content. And so these are very demanding customers, right? The performance needs of their system, that's really part of their job. And multi-threaded performance is very important to these users. So let's take a look at how Ryzen performs for these type of users. So this is 1700 against 7700K across a number of different content creation benchmarks and applications. And you see 1700 just bringing an amazing level of performance to these end users. So 42% better pod rate feed performance, 10% better Photoshop. So across a number of different benchmarks, just a great amount of performance being delivered. Okay? So we'll actually see some more examples of content creators and prosumers a little bit later. Actually, Rajan is going to show us some specific examples here later. So we'll come back to this. I also want to talk about one of our favorite customers, and this is the PC enthusiast and the overclocker. So we love these customers because they're incredibly passionate about their PCs. They build their own PCs, they tweak out every aspect of the system. There's a global community of overclockers that share their system designs, that try to one-up each other on frequency. Great set of customers. And as we built Ryzen, we definitely have these customers in mind. And I want to give you a few examples of that. So first example is every Ryzen processor is unlocked. So every Ryzen 7, 5, 3 is unlocked. And I want to contrast that versus our competition. So our competition, you got to buy a special version of the product to get it unlocked. You got to pay extra, right? Every Ryzen will be unlocked. And the reason that we did that is because we want every PC enthusiast, regardless of their budget, to be able to experiment, create, and play around with their PC. Because we think that really helps keep the whole ecosystem more vibrant, the whole industry more vibrant. And so this is very important to us, all processors unlocked. Second example, AMD Ryzen Master Utility. So we developed a new utility to make overclocking fun and easy. And actually you'll see this demonstrated in just a couple minutes. But it's a utility that lets you control different aspects of the system. So, adjust the clock frequency, voltage, the fan control. Really fun, really nice utility that makes overclocking easy. And then a third example is our AMD Sense-MI technology. We talked a little bit about this in the past, but this is a portfolio of technologies that dynamically adjusts the performance and the power consumption of the product to give you just the optimal experience for any particular workload. And we're going to talk a lot more in detail about each one of these technologies as we go through today. But I want to spend a little bit more time right now talking about XFR. Since we're talking about the overclockers, XFR is a really great feature. It's really automatic overclocking in some sense. What XFR does is it uses the 100+ sensors that are on the Ryzen die to sense if you put a premium cooling solution in your system. So if you invest in a better cooling solution, what it'll do is it'll boost the frequency above the spec boost frequency of the part. So to give you a little extra performance boost if you invest in that better cooler. But more than just me talking about it, I think the best way to see XFR is to see it in action. So Kevin, can you help us take a look at XFR in action?
I'd love to. So I brought with me my friends here from the AMD overclocking team, Bill and Amit. What you see here, first of all, is this is a liquid-cooled system. So you see the liquid cooling right here. And so
it's nitrogen, or you
no.
Water?
Just hold on for that. We'll get to that later tonight. But for today, we're just doing water cooling. And really, this demonstration is to show how we make overclocking easy and accessible for end users.
Yeah.
So the first thing we're going to talk about is XFR. So let me show you this little utility here. Spend a minute explaining it. So the utility you see on the right-hand side of the screen, and you guys can go ahead and kick off a run of Cinebench T multi-threaded if you like. So this is a little utility. In the background, there's a tool called Hardware Info. It's all polling our CPU every 100 milliseconds to see what frequency our different cores are at and what they're doing. So at the bottom, you see all the different cores with the different symbols there. And then you see 3 different marks on the graph. The base mark is the 3.6. That's the base frequency of that 1800X. And then you see the precision boost max frequency of 4 gig. But then you see this extra line in yellow. That's at 4.1. So that's, in this case, that's the XFR frequency of the 1800X. And what you see here is we're running Cinebench NT, and we ran it in multi-threaded mode. So all the cores pegged to that 3.7 frequency. That's actually the boost frequency that we can hit with all cores. And it ran right there where you expected. All the cores pegged at the same frequency. Good cooling solution, so it should never go below that 100 megahertz over the base frequency. So now let's run 1T and see what happens to the frequency. So in this case now, you're only using 1 core, and all of a sudden, boom. You see that one of the cores, in this case I guess it's the green one, it looks like it's core 1, is pegged right there at that 4.1. So instead of 4 gig, which is what you get if you use the nominal cooling system, when you run this 1T workload, then you get 4.1. Just a little extra performance, just a little thank you for using better cooling from AMD.
Nice. All right, but can we overclock the part a bit?
Yeah, let's do a little bit more than that. So let's go ahead and kill this Cinebench run, and let's launch the Ryzen Master utility that you spoke about. And again, the idea with Ryzen Master is to make overclocking even. Notice the warning sign at the beginning. Okay, and even for overclockers, they don't want to be getting into BIOS and have to do extravagant things to do overclocking. So we created this tool that you just fire up in a Windows environment. And what we're going to do is, hey, I don't like just having 1 core at that 4.1 gig. Let's just put them all at 4.1 gig and see what happens. So all he did here was dial up the task up to 4.1. It's going to hit apply, close it down, voila, there you are. You're running at 4.1 now. So very simple to use. Open it up, dial up the frequency, run. Now let's run Cinebench NT and let's see what kind of score we get here. So now instead of having just one core up there at 4.1, you see all of the symbols for all 8 cores pegged up there at that 4.1 frequency.
All right.
Oh, and we lost her. The joys of live demos at Tech Day, so lost the feed there. Dang, I wanted to show that score. I guess I'll have to wait till later on tonight to see themselves what we can score on.
And this is just a taste of overclocking for today, right? Actually, we're going to do a lot more overclocking later today.
Absolutely.
We're going to break out the liquid nitrogen later today and really push Ryzen to the extreme, get as high a frequency as we possibly can. We think actually by the end of the day we'll have set some records on overclocking. All right, thanks, Kevin. So let me wrap up a little bit with Ryzen 7. So highest performing 8-core processor as of next week when it gets into the market. And as you saw as I walked through some of the user examples, really disruptive performance being delivered to the market across, for gamers, for content creators, and for hardware enthusiasts. We're really proud of this product and anxious to launch next week. But I did mention at the beginning, I mentioned that there were other members of the Ryzen family. And so for today, I want to give you a little bit of a sneak peek of Ryzen 5 as well. So for the first time ever, we're going to talk about the Ryzen 5 product family. I want to introduce you to this. And today is really meant to be more about Ryzen 7. But honestly, this product, we are so excited about it. We feel so good about this product that I couldn't resist giving you a little bit of a sneak peek. So what we want to do with Ryzen 5 is Ryzen 5 is really going to be targeted for that part of the market where the CPU prices are kind of in the high hundreds to about $300. So that's the range of the market we're targeting. And if you look at that part of the market, there's about twice as many people that buy CPUs in that price range as the higher price ranges. So it's a really important part of the market. And we want to bring that same disruptive performance and value of Ryzen 7. We want to bring that to this part of the market as well for those gamers and creators in this part of the market. So that's the purpose of Ryzen 5. So for today, for the first time ever, I want to introduce our flagship Ryzen 5 processor, and that's the Ryzen 1600X. So the Ryzen 1600X will have 6 cores, it'll have 12 threads, and it will bring a phenomenal amount of performance to this part of the market. Never before we see this level of performance in those price ranges, that number of cores in those price ranges. Really phenomenal product. It'll have a base frequency of 3.6. It'll boost to 4.0. That's kind of consistent with its bigger brother, the 1800X. It'll have all those great Ryzen features. It'll have Sense MI, the XFR. It'll be unlocked. It'll have a really nice name for platform options, nice chipset options. Really, really phenomenal product. But I also want to show you this product in action. So I'm going to see if Kevin, are you up for doing one more demo?
Let's do one more.
You up for one more? All right, so let's see Ryzen 5 in action.
All right, so let's revisit our old friend Cinebench NT in this case. So in this case, you're going to see a Ryzen 5 1600X on the right, and on the left, you see the fastest Intel Core i5. This is a 7600K Kaby Lake processor. So, as you would expect, they've got a 4-core, 4-thread processor. We're bringing triple the threads to the game, so really nice performance on our end already, clearly beating up on that 4-thread processor there with all 12 threads. So really great to bring this kind of content creation to these users. Right now, the users in this segment have to choose to spend a lot more money if they want to be content creators.
So the AMD system finish.
Yeah, so let's you want to go? Should we go get a couple of others?
Awkward waiting for the Intel system.
I feel a little weird right now.
Kind of sad, actually. All right, almost there. We're almost there.
Good God.
Yeah, we'll grab a cup of coffee.
And
Almost there.
hey, here we go.
All right.
All right, it got done. So you see a phenomenal win there. If we look at the actual results, with that 1600X processor, we completely outclassed the competition to the tune of 69% faster on Cinebench NT. So can't wait to get this product out there. The near term is all about Ryzen 7. That's going to be phenomenal. And then we got more up our sleeve with Ryzen 5.
That's beautiful.
All right. Thanks, Jim. See you.
All right. So Ryzen 5 processors will launch in Q2. And you'll hear more about that as we get closer to Q2, but a little bit more detail I wanted to share with you. So obviously at launch, we'll see the 1600X, our flagship, the 6-core processor, amazing amount of performance in this price range. And then we'll also bring out another version of Ryzen 5. That'll be the 4-core 8-thread, and that'll be the 1500X. So a nice full portfolio of Ryzen 5 products for that part of the market. And we may bring out another version or two beyond that. We'll see. So really happy and excited to get Ryzen 5 to market. Now, let me recap a little bit. So Ryzen 7 goes into the market next week, Ryzen 5 in Q2, and then Ryzen 3 will come in the second half of this year. And we haven't talked a lot about Ryzen 3 today, but this is a product we're also really excited about. And you'll hear more about Ryzen 3 as we get to the second half of this year. But you know, if you look at the total Ryzen portfolio, what we're doing with Ryzen is really trying to change that stagnation and incrementalism that's in the market today, really disrupt the market, bring incredible performance to the end user, and really inject creativity, innovation, and excitement back into the industry. So with that, I want to say thanks again for spending time with us today. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to spending more time with you throughout today. And it's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker. So our next speaker is my good friend and colleague, Raja Kaduri. And with Raja, we did something a little